The moment everything exploded was when Jay Prince completely lost his composure after Finesse2Tymes signed a new contract with NBA YoungBoy. Not once, but twice. What started as a seemingly straightforward contract renewal quickly spiraled into a full-blown war, with loyalty, power, and business control all bubbling violently to the surface. Suddenly, there was a whirlwind of questions stirring up the fan base. People everywhere wanted the inside scoop. What truly went down behind closed doors? Why did this deal ignite such a fierce reaction from the Prince family, the powerful Houston-based dynasty behind Mob Ties Entertainment? The drama reached a boiling point, shaking the Houston music scene to its very core. The real turning point came during a phone call that soon became legendary. A call that sent shockwaves through the entire community. Finesse2Tymes appeared on Boss Talk TV, and what he shared was both unexpected and jaw-dropping. In an unfiltered, unscripted moment, he openly praised NBA YoungBoy, something so rare in the rap world, especially between two known rivals. It was more than a casual shout-out. It was a public display of respect, live on camera. No PR agents, no polished media statement, just a raw, honest Memphis rapper revealing a secret that stunned the hip-hop world. The very same artist he had been locked in a bitter feud with only 2 years prior had quietly reached out to help pull him out of a tough situation. NBA YoungBoy had actually contacted the Prince family directly and asked them what it would take to get that man out of his contract. That revelation dropped like a bombshell across social media in late May 2026. No diss track, no sly jabs, just a straightforward confession. Finesse admitted that NBA YoungBoy had gone directly over his head and contacted the Prince family, the very people managing Mob Ties Entertainment in Houston, asking what it would take to free him from his binding contract. Pause for a moment and think about that. Here was a rapper who had been publicly crying out on live streams for months, begging for help to get out of his contract, desperately searching for anyone willing to throw him a lifeline. But while everyone else online was busy running their mouths or pretending to care, the one person who actually answered the call was NBA YoungBoy. This was the same NBA YoungBoy who, back in 2024, had been embroiled in a nasty beef with Finesse. The same artist who had posted provocative content on Instagram involving Finesse's child's mother. The same man who had launched furious public rants, calling out Finesse by name with unfiltered intensity. Yet behind the scenes, this very man reached out in peace, offering a helping hand to his former rival. You could hear the emotion in Finesse's voice when he talked about it. The genuine confusion mixed with gratitude. He hadn't expected that kind of support from someone he once considered an enemy. Within hours, the internet was ablaze. Clips of the interview exploded across platforms: Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, X, igniting fierce debates and passionate reactions. Traps and Trunks broke down the story on their feeds while CTV posted the viral clip on Instagram, setting comment sections on fire. Everyone had something to say. Some hailed NBA YoungBoy as the true man of the year in rap, applauding his unexpected act of kindness and loyalty. Others speculated that Finesse's praise was merely a strategic move, a calculated attempt to get somebody to rescue him from a tight spot. And then there was a third faction, watching and waiting to see what would unfold next. Because in this game, every move has consequences, and the story was far from over. You're probably already wondering exactly how Jay Prince was going to respond. Because if you know anything about the Houston rap scene, you know this much for sure. Jay Prince doesn't mess around. This man didn't just get involved in the game. He built Rap-A-Lot Records from the ground up, brick by brick. His name carries weight that echoes through the streets, the radio waves, and boardrooms all over the country. The truth is, he's been in this business longer than half the rappers you hear today have even been alive. He's not just a businessman. He's a mentor to legends, a figure who commands both respect and fear from radio stations and industry executives alike. Jay Prince has helped settle some of the most intense feuds stretching coast to coast, proving that when he speaks, people listen. Now throw NBA YoungBoy into the mix, a heavyweight from Baton Rouge running his own label with its own set of challenges, and suddenly the situation gets even more complicated. Here's a rising star with his own battles picking up the phone and calling Houston, asking the Prince family to release one of their artists. You already know that was going to be a wildly difficult conversation. But before we get into the fortress of resistance that Jay Prince built around this contract, You have to understand what Finesse was actually running from in the first place. This story isn't just about a single phone call. It's the story of a man who felt like he had signed away every bit of his freedom, trapped inside a contract that felt more like a cage. And now he was pounding on every door he could find, desperate for a way out. Finesse wasn't just telling this story once or twice. He had been going on every live stream and broadcasting his truth for months. On platforms like Boss Talk TV, he shared his pain and frustration openly, emotionally drained, bleeding out his story to the internet, trying to escape the grasp of Mob Ties Entertainment for nearly a year. That call from NBA YoungBoy, while significant, was just one act in a much larger saga. To truly understand why it carried such weight, you have to understand the cage Finesse2Tymes was locked inside. Finesse, whose real name is Ricky T. Greer, had returned home from federal prison searching for a fresh start. He wasn't starting from scratch, though. He had a growing buzz, the backing of his hometown Memphis, street-smashing hits, and the watchful eye of one of Southern rap's most legendary figures. That man was J. Prince, the OG himself. The man with the white beard, a voice calm yet authoritative, and an iron grip on the Houston rap scene. J. Prince and his son, J. Prince Jr., brought Finesse into Mob Ties Entertainment. They treated him like family. They advanced him money, gifted him flashy jewelry, flew him out on private jets, and even looked after his family while he was behind bars. From the outside, it all looked like a dream come true. A rapper serves his time, a respected legend signs him up, and the streets get a new king ready to rise. But the truth Finesse began to unravel wasn't something he understood immediately. It wasn't until years later, during a candid live session, that he finally opened up fully, sharing for the first time the real cost of the contract he had signed. For all the glitz and glamour, there was a price hidden beneath it all, a heavy burden he had been carrying quietly inside. One night, Finesse sat down determined to finally understand the fine print. He had never used AI tools like ChatGPT before, but desperate for clarity, he fed the entire agreement into the program, hoping it might reveal what he had actually signed away. As he read each clause out loud, the AI's response came back with a ruthless, cold analysis that shattered any illusions he had. This was more than a bad deal. It was a nightmare. Even seasoned lawyers, after examining the paperwork, were reluctant to touch it. Multiple attorneys either declined to take the case or gave hesitant, non-committal advice. It was like no one wanted to get anywhere near it. So with conventional options drying up, Finesse and his team leaned further into technology, letting the AI break down complex legal jargon that no one around him dared speak aloud. The verdict was grim. This contract was a 360 deal in every sense. To fully grasp what that meant for Finesse, imagine handing over control of everything tied to your career. Your music, your publishing rights, every dollar from merchandise, concert tours, brand endorsements, even your own name and likeness. The label held rights to every aspect where Finesse's voice or image appeared. It was like an invisible pipeline funneling all his earnings straight back to them. And it wasn't just that. The flashy gifts he'd been receiving for years, the luxury jewelry, the trucks, the private jets, none of it was truly his. The AI revealed these perks were actually loans advanced against his future income. He wasn't living in luxury. He was drowning in debt, shackled to pay it all back. But the contract's traps ran even deeper. Finesse stumbled upon an assignment clause that made him visibly shake his head as he read it aloud. Mob Ties held the power to transfer his contract to any other label or company at any time, without his consent. Even if he hoped to outlast his deal and finally cut ties, the restrictions would follow him wherever he went. No matter which corporate cage he found himself in next, there would be no escape. Yet the final blow came from something buried in Finesse's memory, a warning he had received long before he ever signed. According to Finesse, J. Prince himself allegedly gave a stark piece of advice to a freshly released artist. Don't bring a lawyer to the table. Prince reportedly insisted that real artists don't need legal help, that lawyers only complicate or betray deals. It was all meant to be done on a handshake, built on respect. Finesse, just out of prison and looking up to Prince like a hero, trusted that advice. He walked into the signing believing in loyalty over legal protection, and it's a decision that haunts him every day. Later, Finesse aired his grievances on hot new hip-hop, unfiltered and raw. He called the deal unfair and one-sided, pointing to recruitment clauses stacked heavily against him and highlighting the assignment clause as a calculated snare. But above all, he revealed the brutal truth. Locked inside this contract was a trap so deep it might never let him walk away. For a grueling 4 years, Finesse effectively found himself unable to release his own music on platforms like Apple Music or Spotify the way he had envisioned. 2 projects across 4 years. That's the cold math. He kept circling back to that calculation as if it defined everything holding him back. According to him, the label wasn't even clearing his tracks with the necessary speed or enthusiasm. And Atlantic Records, the powerhouse connected directly to mob ties, was offering zero real support or investment. No promotional engine, no strategic push, no marketing budget to fuel a rollout. The frustration ran deep. He felt utterly invisible, stuck in a system where his hands were tied and business decisions beyond his control were strangling his freedom. Yet the bitterness didn't stem solely from being held back. What truly tore at him was this. He had momentum, a buzzing energy circulating around him, packed concert dates on the horizon, a loyal fan base waiting, and unreleased material ready to break free. But no matter how much fire he had inside, he was stuck in a cage, unable to move on his own terms. Desperate to be heard, Finesse resorted to the only tool left at his disposal. Raw, unfiltered expression. Each live stream, each heated rant, each tearful confession became a window into his struggle. Through these moments, he poured out his heart, broadcasting his pain to the world. Then, just when it seemed like the silence would stretch on indefinitely, the narrative abruptly shifted. Someone unexpected was listening. Someone miles away had tuned right in. And here's where the story takes a fascinating turn. Because to fully grasp the impact of NBA YoungBoy's phone call, we need to rewind and unravel the complicated history between these two men. This wasn't a story of instant friendship or simple collaboration. Far from it. 2 years prior, Finesse and YoungBoy had been locked in a very public, very loud feud. They weren't allies or even on speaking terms. They were rivals clashing openly across social media and beyond. But this wasn't the usual music industry drama centered on tracks, money, or clout. This was something messier, more personal. It was about relationships, the kind that can ignite tension that's hard to extinguish. It all started behind the scenes in September 2023 when, according to Finesse himself, he slid into the direct messages of one of YoungBoy's baby mamas. The woman eventually shared this with YoungBoy, who was known for holding on to details that stung, letting them simmer beneath the surface. And then the dam finally burst on April 10, 2024. That day, YoungBoy dropped a bombshell on social media. A provocative photo of one of Finesse's children's mothers, the woman known as F&G Suga or Vanessa. The image was striking. Vanessa, dressed in pink lingerie sporting bunny ears, posted directly on YoungBoy's Instagram story for the world to see. It wasn't subtle. It was a direct, unmistakable strike designed to hurt and humiliate. The fallout spread instantly, with media outlets like XXL Mag and Hot New Hip Hop offering comprehensive breakdowns of how this personal spat snowballed into a full-blown public spectacle in a matter of hours. Finesse, true to form, wasn't about to sit quietly. His response came the only way he knew how, with a mix of humor, social media jabs, and the kind of unfiltered energy that had initially raised his profile in the first place. At first, Finesse threw out what sounded like a joke. He said NBA YoungBoy could FaceTime Suga for a whopping $250,000. It came off as a playful jab. But then, almost immediately, he caught himself. He deleted the comment and returned with a fiercer, more serious tone, dripping with Memphis pride. He posted a message aimed directly at NBA YoungBoy, suggesting maybe he had forgotten where he came from. That message leaned heavily into street credibility and loyalty. One line that exploded across social media was a now-deleted post where Finesse declared he was from Memphis, and they don't deal with that kind of behavior out there. That wasn't just bravado. It was a warning rooted in the street codes of his city, emphasizing how seriously they treated loyalty and respect. NBA YoungBoy didn't take that sitting down. He fired back with even more intensity, calling Finesse out for sounding soft, and accusing him of crossing a major line by sliding into his wife's messages. To add more fuel, YoungBoy brushed off Finesse's earlier discussions about mental health as nothing more than excuses, making it clear that the DM incident from September 2023 had been eating at him for months. This wasn't just chatter anymore. YoungBoy was ready to settle the score publicly and loudly. For days, their back and forth set Twitter and Instagram ablaze. Finesse was firing back in comment sections with sharp comebacks while YoungBoy kept feeding the flames, posting a flurry of Instagram stories that kept his side of the battle front and center. Their fan bases clashed like rival boxing camps, each defending their champion with fierce devotion. Some were diehard YoungBoy supporters, others were true Memphis loyalists to the very end. But plenty of onlookers just saw this as another unnecessary industry conflict between two artists who had bigger battles ahead. What's wild is that despite all the drama, no diss track ever dropped. There was no official studio reply, no answer record cut in the heat of the moment. Instead, the entire saga lived and died in Instagram stories, deleted posts, and heated rant videos. The inferno blazed brightly for only a few days in mid-April 2024 before dying down almost as fast as it had exploded. Both artists seemingly moved on. YoungBoy back to his world, Finesse retreating into his own struggles and affiliations. The beef became an almost forgotten chapter, preserved only in the countless screenshots and recap videos that fans would revisit. But a few clips surfaced suggesting that NBA YoungBoy might have still been carrying some heat beneath the surface even after the public storm had settled. The tension hadn't entirely vanished. There was an unmistakable undercurrent of unresolved frustration simmering just below the surface. And this is what sets the stage for what came next. The twist no one saw coming. Because most rappers would never dare to take it that far. Most rappers, when confronted with drama like this, would have just shrugged it off. Imagine Finesse2Tymes candidly breaking down his contract situation on a live stream, emotions spilling over. The typical reaction from others would be to screenshot it, turn it into memes, and use it as fuel for social media banter. Yet NBA YoungBoy did something completely unexpected. Something that instantly flipped the script and shattered any assumptions about how rivalries unfold in hip-hop. Instead of public jabs or social media shade, he put down his phone and dialed Houston directly. Finesse himself laid it all out on Boss Talk TV without a hint of hesitation. He revealed that YoungBoy had reached out to the Prince family before any other drama even surfaced. This wasn't after the explosive new controversies hitting the headlines. No, this was happening quietly off camera while everyone else waited for the next confrontation. In a world where grudges and beefs often define relationships, NBA YoungBoy became the unlikely peacemaker, the one breaking the cycle before it could fully ignite. The supposed adversary became the voice of reason, the only one brave enough to make the first move toward reconciliation. This revelation blew up online because it challenged everything hip-hop fans believed about loyalty and toughness. In a culture where people constantly preach unity but often act otherwise, here was a former rival demonstrating more loyalty than many current friends. Finesse himself admitted the truth. He could no longer claim he was alone or without support because this unexpected ally had stepped forward. But of course, every rescue mission has a catch. Someone has to answer the call and open the door. In this story, that door was guarded by one of Southern hip-hop's most legendary, stubborn, and powerful figures, J. Prince himself. When word made its way back to Houston that NBA YoungBoy was ready to negotiate, and even buy Finesse out of his contract, J. Prince's reaction was icy and absolute. There was no hesitation, no bargaining, not even a token show of interest. J. Prince slammed the door shut so firmly that the entire music industry felt the impact. His message was loud and clear. No offer, no sum of money, whether it was 1 million, 5 million, 10 million, or beyond, was going to make him budge. The reason for this hardline stance wasn't about dollars and cents. It went deeper than any financial incentive. This was a matter of principle. J. Prince has always been a man who views contracts as unbreakable promises, akin to blood oaths. To him, signing a document isn't just a formality. It's a sacred trust that demands respect and unwavering commitment. Even when the stakes are sky high and the temptation to negotiate might be immense, he holds firm to this mindset. In a sense, this entire saga reveals something profound about loyalty, power, and respect in the music business, where sometimes it's not the loudest or the richest who win, but the ones who stand by their word no matter what. When you put your signature on the line, you commit. You stand by your word. There's no room for excuses, no wiggle room to say you found a better deal now. That's the kind of integrity expected in the music business. You honor the deals you make. That's precisely the stance both Jay Prince and the older veterans in the industry took when Finesse's situation went public. On the very Boss Talk TV episode where Finesse shared that revealing phone call from YoungBoy, an enigmatic caller stepped up. A respected elder, an OG in the game. His voice cut through the conversation like a blade. He reminded everyone that business is business, invoking the principle from the movie The Players Club of keeping business and emotions in separate lanes. When it comes to contracts, feelings can't blur what was clearly agreed upon in writing. The OG went even deeper, painting a vivid picture. He said when Finesse first signed, the money must have felt like a dream, like pure blessing washing over him. He was probably grinning from ear to ear, feeling like he had hit the jackpot. But here's the catch. The reason the contract feels like a trap now isn't because it suddenly became unfair. It's because Finesse believes he can do better somewhere else. Plain and simple. That sums up Jay Prince's core belief. No one forced Finesse into signing. There were no threats or tricks. The young artist walked in on his own 2 feet, took the advance, the jewelry, the support his family needed while he was locked up, and willingly signed on the dotted line. And now, as the buzz around him skyrockets and bigger offers come knocking, suddenly that contract looks like a cage instead of a ladder. From Jay Prince's perspective, that's not a sign of the deal being unfair. It's just an artist losing sight of the commitment he made the moment that money hit his account. But Finesse has fired back with his own truth. He's repeatedly said he wasn't properly educated before signing. He revealed that he was told not to bring a lawyer, that he trusted Jay Prince like family, and signed purely on faith. And when someone finally examined the contract with fresh eyes, it was deemed one of the most one-sided agreements anyone had seen. Still, Jay Prince's position doesn't waver. For him, the signed contract stands as law. And it's not just Jay Prince Sr. setting this boundary. Jay Prince Jr., the man who runs Mob Ties day to day, has been publicly challenging Finesse for months. When Finesse claimed that Jay Prince Jr. was behind the cancellation of his big Houston show over Memorial Day weekend, a show that featured Lil Baby, and was supposedly going to include him, Jr. didn't hold anything back. Finesse said he was supposed to be there, ready to perform on that stage. But the unexpected cancellation added fuel to a fire already burning hot. After receiving the shocking call letting him know he was no longer part of the lineup, Finesse's frustration only intensified when he stumbled upon videos online showing Jay Prince Jr. hanging out with Lil Baby at the very same event he had been cut from. The sting of being sidelined was made that much worse by seeing Jr. seemingly enjoying himself, rubbing salt into the wound. Fueled by a mix of anger and betrayal, Finesse took to his Instagram story and directly named Jay Prince Jr., accusing the family of not only tricking him out of his contract, but actively blocking him from landing new shows and opportunities, painting a picture of a man being squeezed out of the very career he had been fighting for. Jay Prince Jr. didn't hold back either. His comeback was cold and calculated. On his own platform, he fired back, saying Finesse was blaming him for almost every setback in his life. Jr. posed a pointed question. How on earth could he have convinced a promoter to snub an artist he was supposed to represent? It just didn't add up. Then, to add another jab, Jr. highlighted that Finesse had seemingly shifted gears altogether. He was now primarily a content creator and streamer. According to Jr., Finesse had effectively stepped away from the music industry by choice. Meanwhile, the back-and-forth insults and accusations continued raining down on Instagram for weeks, capturing the attention of hip-hop media outlets like Hot New Hip Hop and Graham, both of which dove deep into the heated dispute between Jr. and Finesse, which showed no sign of cooling off anytime soon. From the Prince family's perspective, the narrative is crystal clear. They saw promise in Finesse when he was at his lowest, even supporting his family financially during tough times while he was incarcerated. They signed him when no one else had the faith or the guts to do so. They provided advances, flashy jewelry, private jets, and a platform to make a name for himself. Now that Finesse has built his own momentum, they simply aren't about to release him into the hands of a Baton Rouge heavyweight waving a check, no matter how appealing it might look. That's not how Houston operates. That's not how Rap-A-Lot conducts business. And it's definitely not the approach Jay Prince has followed for more than 3 decades. So when NBA YoungBoy made that call, he found himself running headfirst into a brick wall. A wall built long before YoungBoy ever stepped into the spotlight. But let's pause and set things straight. Despite all the drama, the rants, the emotional turmoil, the late-night calls, and the explosive social media posts, the reality of this saga is much less grand than the headlines suggest. Finesse2Tymes has not officially signed with NBA YoungBoy. There's no announcement, no joint album, no press release, no record label statement declaring a new deal or a change of ownership. What actually exists is a phone call, some mutual respect shared between 2 artists, and a firm decline from the Prince family to allow that connection to transform into anything concrete. It's a situation dripping with tension, full of promise, but still very much in limbo. The entire situation boils down to one thing: hope. Hope that something will change, that there's a way out. That's the core of it all. According to what Finesse shared on Boss Talk TV, NBA YoungBoy actually reached out to the Prince family directly, asking what it would take to free Finesse from his binding contract. That gesture alone earned Finesse's respect. He acknowledged it as a real sign of support. For so long, he had spoken about feeling like no one was on his side. But here was YoungBoy showing up and stepping in. Finesse expressed hope that the talks were still alive, that the conversations hadn't completely stalled. And here's the crucial detail. He used the word working. Not signed, not finished, not done, but working. In the music industry, that term often means the deal isn't nailed down yet. It can also suggest it might never actually happen. Because the Prince family has been absolutely clear across interviews, social media, and public discussions that no amount of money will easily pry Finesse out of his contract. When a heavyweight executive like Jay Prince publicly refuses to budge, it's rare that the decision flips behind closed doors. So what's really going on behind the scenes right now? It's a slow, tense standoff. Finesse hasn't disappeared. Far from it. He's live almost daily, streaming, creating content, keeping his name in circulation, making sure the internet doesn't forget about him. But in terms of his music career, he's trapped. The contract holds tight, and he can't move freely. He's been brutally transparent about how this feels. During one live stream, the walls came down completely. Finesse broke down in tears, revealing the heavy weight he had been carrying. He spoke about being with Mob Ties for 4 years, managing to drop only 2 projects. He confessed he's 33 now. Years spent stuck while feeling the clock tick away. He needs to be free to chase better opportunities, bigger financial success that's waiting out there for him. He even made a bold offer. If Mob Ties wanted 10 million, 15 million, or even 20 million to cut him loose, he was willing to pay it. All he wanted was to walk away, to regain control over his own career. Despite this heartfelt plea, the door remains firmly closed. Mob Ties still owns his music and the rights to it. They hold the power to pass his contract to any other label thanks to the assignment clause buried in his deal. And Atlantic Records is still tied into the mix because Mob Ties operates within that major label system. So even if NBA YoungBoy were ready to write a blank check, the reality is that money would have to clear multiple levels, several desks and executives, all of whom have their own say. The complexity of this system means that the battle for Finesse's freedom is not just about passion or support. It's about navigating a labyrinth of business that's dense, strategic, and built to hold. Finesse has been dropping hints that some major players in the industry are circling, watching, waiting. He's mentioned big names like 50 Cent almost casually, as if deals worth $10 or $20 million are lying in wait somewhere behind the scenes. Yet none of those heavy hitters have taken the bold step YoungBoy did. None have made that public move. None have picked up the phone and made the call in the open, giving Finesse something real to hold on to. For now, that rare act belongs solely to YoungBoy, the only artist with undeniable proof of trying to extend a helping hand. This story's title might have you believing a signing went down, but the truth is what happened was a conversation. A knock on a door that frustratingly stayed closed. Finesse2Tymes remains tied to Mob Ties. NBA YoungBoy is still charting his own path. Jay Prince stands firm, unyielding, the wall nobody has yet climbed. What's changed isn't a contract or a record deal. It's a subtle but powerful shift in the story everyone tells. Two men, once adversaries, quietly building a bridge no one expected. A bridge that didn't lead to a new label contract, but instead created something rarer. A new form of respect. A delicate and priceless currency in the world of hip-hop. Because in a culture too often marked by bitter rivalries ending in tragedy or silence, this one ended with a phone call. And that call led to respect. So will Finesse ever break free from his mob ties contract? That remains a question hanging in the air. The agreement is solid, the label unshakable. J. Prince Sr. has spoken clearly. J. Prince Jr. stands firm. Even Houston's promoters are aligned. The offers, the money sitting on the table, all of it has been waved off. Finesse is faced with limited roads ahead. Ride out the contract, dig deep for legal solutions his current team hasn't pursued, or negotiate a buyout with the Princes. None of these paths are quick or simple, and none promise a sure victory. What's certain is where Finesse stands right now. He feels boxed in, weary from the battle, but also deeply grateful. Out of every name in the entire game, it was NBA YoungBoy who reached out, who tried to throw him a lifeline. And in an unforgiving business built on broken promises and betrayals, that gratitude, small as it may seem, might just be the most valuable thing Finesse still holds. If you found this story as compelling as I did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss a video like this. Drop a comment below and let me know where you think this situation goes next. And share this with someone who needs to hear the full story. Until next time.